CEO discovers incredible truth after hearing janitor's son say don't talk. This life-changing moment will leave you speechless. Jonathan Reed, the CEO of TechWave, had it all. A sprawling mansion in the heart of suburban Chicago, a loving wife, and 2 kids at prestigious schools. Yet none of this filled the void in his life. Late nights at the office blurred into a routine that felt both familiar and suffocating. It was a Tuesday when everything shattered. He was shuffling through the dimly lit halls of his empty office when he overheard a hushed conversation that stopped him in his tracks. "I'm sorry, Danny," the janitor, Mr. Torres, said softly, urgency lacing his voice. "I have to take the hours I can get. I just don't want you to worry." "Don't talk," Danny whispered back, his voice cracking. It was a plea, not for silence, but a desperate yearning to shield his father from the relentless grip of financial worries. A knot formed in Jonathan's chest as he eavesdropped, torn between his corporate armor and a dawning awareness of the struggles outside his bubble of privilege. For weeks after that night, Jonathan felt an invisible thread pull him toward the Torres family. Despite his late-night meetings and constant travel, he found time to connect with Danny, a brilliant boy with dreams of crafting video games. The two would meet secretly at a park, where Jonathan would guide Danny through the basics of design. What started as a simple mentor-mentee relationship blossomed into something much deeper. Jonathan learned of their struggles, the weight of bills hovering over their modest apartment, and how often they skipped meals just to make ends meet. "Danny, you're talented. You could really make something of yourself," Jonathan said one afternoon, a spark of hope igniting in Danny's eyes. But as Jonathan began to change, tensions at home bubbled over. Laura, his wife, felt like a ghost in her own home. "Where are you, Jonathan?" she asked one night, hurt flickering in her tone. "I need you here with us." Her frustration was palpable, the space between them growing wider, and he could see it in the way their kids looked at him questioning, disappointed. Things escalated. A scandal erupted at TechWave, threatening the company's reputation, and Jonathan was suddenly forced into a moral dilemma. Should he protect the new bonds he formed with Danny and Mr. Torres, or safeguard his family's stability built on a corporate empire? The rusting gears of his conscience spun, caught between loyalty to those who fueled his success and those whose lives he now understood. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As pressure mounted and whispers of scandal turned into a tidal wave, Jonathan was haunted by Danny's hopeful eyes, shadowed by unspoken worries. Could he abandon those who worked tirelessly underneath the limelight of his corporation? Would he choose to retreat back into the comfort of wealth, or step into the chaos and fight for dignity? His heart raced as possibilities whirled around him. The life he'd built for himself clashed with the man he wanted to become. The phone rang, cutting through the turmoil, a call that could change everything. Would he answer it? Would he choose comfort or the cause that would define what true success meant? Every choice felt monumental, and Jonathan stood at the crossroads, the future hanging precariously in the balance. Jonathan stared at the phone, its screen glowing like a beacon in the darkened office. A voice inside him urged him to pick it up, to take a step back into the life he once embraced. But another part of him, the one that had begun to wake from the corporate dream state, whispered something different. Something real. He let it ring, the sound echoing in the quiet stillness. The choices he faced bore down on him, and in that moment, the weight of commitment pressed heavy on his heart. He closed his eyes, trying to silence the din of corporate stakes and family pressures. A moment later, he was jolted by the door creaking open. It was Laura, her expression revealing concerns stitched with confusion. "Jonathan, are you okay? You've been in here for hours." Her voice had that familiar lilt of worry, blending with annoyance, like a melody of familial love frayed at the edges. He nodded, trying to muster a smile. "Just work stuff, nothing to worry about." But they both knew it was more than that. The distance between them felt like an entire universe, both of them floating in separate orbits. She stepped further into the room, and he could see the flecks of hurt in her eyes. "You need to talk to me, John. You've changed. I don't recognize you anymore." Her words struck deep. "I'm trying to make a difference, Laura," he said, surprising even himself with the intensity of his response. "There's more to this life than just success. I've seen it. I've met people whose struggles are beyond what we know." "Who?" she pressed. "Who has a hold on you like this? Is it that janitor? The son? What are you doing?" He paused, the truth hanging on his lips like a confession. "I'm trying to understand, to help. Danny, he's amazing. He's got this talent, and I can't just ignore it. Is that why you've been spending so much time away from us?" Laura's voice was sharp, edged with pain. "Are you willing to sacrifice our family for some kid you barely know?" It hurt to hear the doubt in her voice, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he had been called to something greater. "I can't go back to being that person who just sits in a corner office, making money while others are struggling," he said. "Seeing Danny's world made me realize how blind I've been." She shook her head, a tear sliding down her cheek. "So, what comes next? Are you going to quit your job? Walk away from everything we built?" Jonathan felt paralyzed, the enormity of what he had to face crashing down in waves. He loved his family, craved their certainty, but the fire ignited within him couldn't easily be extinguished. "I don't know yet," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I do know I need to choose what is right." A silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. The small office felt expansive, filled with possibilities and consequences. A part of him longed for the comfort of a clean, predictable future, yet what if making a choice to care meant sacrificing that comfort entirely? Just then, the phone rang again, slicing through the tension like a knife. Both of them turned toward the sound, sensing it called for an answer either of them could guess. Jonathan's heart beat wildly. What if that call was from TechWave? What if it was news he hadn't prepared for? Would it lead him back to safety, or push him deeper into uncertainty? "Jonathan?" Laura broke the stillness, her voice steady despite the turmoil. "Are you ready for whatever comes next?" With a final glance at the phone, he took a step toward her into the unknown. But amidst his thoughts, another haunting question lingered. Could he truly reconcile the man he was expected to be with the one he was destined to become? Next chapter will bring a reckoning that could change everything. Jonathan held his breath as the phone rang out again, each chime echoing against his racing heart. Laura's eyes bore into him, uncertainty hanging between them like a fragile web. The unspoken words of the moment clung to the air, waiting to dissolve or deepen depending on what he chose next. He glanced at the screen, a name that made his stomach twist. The vice president of TechWave. A steady salary, benefits, the illusion of security, all wrapped up in a defined uptight package. He could feel the pull, the false comfort of it. But a flicker of remembrance crossed his mind. Danny's laughter, the way he lit up when Jonathan dared to believe in him at the paint-splattered community center. "Are you really willing to risk it all?" Laura asked, disbelief threading through her voice. Laura, he debated the right words, the ones that could bridge the chasm widening between them. "It's not just about me anymore. It's about what I can do, who I can help." "That sounds noble," she snapped slightly, arms crossing defensively. "But while you charm your new friends, I'll be here trying to keep our family together." Jonathan felt the prick of guilt stab at him, but he couldn't tuck that fire inside back out of sight. "I don't want to charm anyone. I just want to give back, to engage with life where it's real." As his resolve hardened, he faced the ringing phone, the display like a neon sign of the past trying to pull him back. He took a breath and pushed the green button. "Hello? Jonathan, this is Greg. We need to talk," the voice crackled through. Jonathan could hear the authority in his tone, the unsaid implications of the call, echoing dangerously close to a decision he had not yet made. "Sure, Greg. I'm listening," Jonathan replied, forcing his voice to remain steady despite the internal storm brewing. "I've been watching your progress with your current projects. We have a big opportunity coming up. You could lead a new initiative. Think about it, the future of TechWave is in your hands. His pulse quickened, shadows from the past rushing over him. Promotion. Respect. Success. Yet, amidst that, a picture of Danny hunched over a desk, sketching dreams on a notepad. Hope. Thanks for the offer, Greg. But I think I need to evaluate some things on my end, Jonathan said, surprising even himself with the words. He felt Laura's eyes widen. Evaluate? What is there to evaluate? Greg pressed, irritation creeping into his voice. This is golden, Jonathan. Why would you walk away from something so big? Jonathan's heart raced, his thoughts colliding. Because it's not about the gold anymore, Greg. I have new priorities. There was silence on the other end, a heavy pause that signaled disbelief. Then Greg spoke, annoyance tinged with disbelief. If you choose to let this go, you might never get another offer like it. Maybe I don't want another offer like it, Jonathan shot back, desperation leaking into his voice. I can't keep chasing success blindfolded. As he hung up, a wave of relief crashed over him. The decision felt monumental, yet suffocating at the same time. Laura looked at him, their gazes finally locked on an equal plane. Are you sure? She whispered, her voice softening. More sure than I've felt in years, he replied, a newfound clarity settling in. But as he stood firm, a sense of guilt seeped back in. With everything else swirling around, was he truly ready to let the past drift away? In that moment, he felt a surge of determination coursing through him. We'll figure this out together, he reassured Laura, taking her hands. He could see the spark of hope flicker in her eyes, yet uncertainty lingered. Together, she echoed, though her voice carried a mixture of doubt. But a shift was happening, and this new chapter, whatever it brought, would not just be Jonathan's alone. As they stood there, hands intertwined, a question buzzed lightly in the air: what would the next steps cost them? And could their family survive the changes they'd chosen to embrace? The answers loomed ahead, hanging tantalizingly just out of reach. Jonathan took a step back, releasing Laura's hands gingerly as if breaking a spell. The atmosphere in the room felt thick, almost tangible. They were on the brink of something enormous, yet the weight of uncertainty still pressed down on their shoulders. Do you think we can really make this work? She asked, her voice wavering. The flicker of hope he'd seen moments earlier dimmed, replaced by a storm of doubt. Maybe they didn't have the answers, but they had each other. I have to believe we can, he said, a resolve returning to his tone. It won't be easy, I know that. Laura nodded slowly, taking a deep breath. What's next then? You're stepping away from TechWave, but what does giving back actually look like? Jonathan turned his mind to their community, and the threads binding it together. The grimy community center where he had found purpose amidst the chaos. He could almost hear the echoes of children's laughter, the vibrant swirl of colors from the art supplies. I want to dive back in there, to help Danny and the others, to give them what I wasn't sure I could before. Laura raised an eyebrow. You're serious? Going back to that place? Why not? We've talked about how important it is to keep our roots alive. I think it starts there, Laura. With the kids. They need someone to help them believe in themselves. But what about us? She probed. What if it doesn't pay enough? What if they don't accept you back? He felt the doubt creep in, gnawing at his stomach. But where would that lead them? Back to the familiar grind, living a life dictated by unfulfilling security? I never said it would be easy. But it's something. It's better than waiting on an offer that, didn't sit right with me. Laura's expression softened, her defenses lowering as if she were letting him into a part of her heart that she rarely shared. Then what do we do first? He felt the anxiety lift, replaced by a formation of ideas bubbling to the surface. We start small. I'll reach out to the community center this week. Maybe they need volunteers, or maybe they can use my skills in a different way, he said, picturing the possibilities. Her eyes brightened at his enthusiasm, yet a hint of uncertainty lingered. You sure this is what you want? Absolutely, he said, the conviction in his voice growing. For the first time in a long time, It felt as if purpose surged in his veins. They spent the remainder of the afternoon discussing the center and the kids, their excitement painting vivid images of the future. The tension ebbed, replaced by laughter and dreams ignited. But as night crept in and shadows whispered through their home, Jonathan was left with another weight, a question that never fully left. Would their family's needs align with this new path? Later, as he lay in bed, he glanced over at Laura, whose face was softened by sleep. He reached out and touched the back of her hand gently. Hope is a tricky thing, he murmured to himself. Was their leap into the unknown rooted in hope or mere desperation? As the darkness wrapped around him, he wondered about Danny and the other kids who had once looked up to him. Would they see the change in him? What if it didn't work? Moments of doubt began tugging at him again, yet he held on to the glimmer of hope. Tomorrow would begin a new chapter, and he needed to be ready for confusion, surprises, maybe even magic. What he didn't expect was a knock at the door the following morning and a visitor who would change everything. Who could it be? And what secrets would unfold? The morning sunlight streamed through the half-closed curtains, casting soft stripes of light across the room. Jonathan stirred awake, groggy but determined. The knock at the door echoed through the silence, pulling him from the remnants of sleep. He swung his legs off the bed, heart quickening with anticipation. Who could it be? It felt too early for anyone but family or perhaps a neighbor in need. As he tiptoed down the hallway, the knock came again, more urgent this time. When Jonathan opened the door, he was taken aback. Standing on the doorstep was Danny, the kid he once mentored, now a lanky teenager with bright eyes that still seemed to hold the light of an undeniable spark. "Hey, Mr. J!" he exclaimed, almost breathless with excitement. "I was hopping around the neighborhood and thought I'd stop by." "Danny! Wow, it's been a minute." Jonathan's heart warmed at the sight of him. He invited Danny in, ruffling his hair affectionately. "What's up? You got good news for me?" Danny shuffled his feet, looking a bit shy, an unusual look for such an energetic spirit. "Well, kind of," he said, glancing down the hall as if searching for words. "I just heard about what you're doing. You're thinking about coming back, right?" Jonathan nodded, curiosity piqued. "Yeah, I'm hoping to help out again. It's important to me. I talked to the kids about you." Danny bit his lip, glancing up like he might reveal a big secret. "Some of them were worried. They said the place hasn't been the same since you left. They really miss you." A wave of nostalgia hit Jonathan hard, knocking the wind out of him. Kids missing him? What kind of impact had he truly had? I didn't know that. "Yeah," Danny continued. "And last week, we were playing basketball, and a couple of the guys said they really need someone who knows what they're doing. I told them you'd be back." He looked more confident now, hope shining in his eyes. "They believe in you." Chills ran down Jonathan's spine. "You really think they want me back?" Danny shrugged, but there was something earnest about his expression. "They do. But we also have to fix up the center a bit. It's looking rough, like nobody cares anymore." Jonathan felt a surge of urgency. This wasn't just about him. It was about so many kids who relied on that place. "What do you need?" "I can get supplies, or we can organize something." "Actually, I thought maybe we could throw a big event," Danny suggested, his excitement bubbling over. "Give it a fresh start. Get the community involved again. You know, like the old days." "An event?" Jonathan's mind raced with the possibilities. "That's a great idea. I could plan some activities, invite families. We can really make it a day to remember." Danny's smile widened, invigorating Jonathan's spirit. "Yeah. And we could probably get pizza." "Of course. Pizza is mandatory." They both laughed, the tension of the previous night fading. Jonathan's pulse quickened. This was the energy he needed. But then another thought struck him. "What if Laura, of course your wife, can help, too?" Danny interrupted, waving a hand dismissively. "She's cool. Plus, I still need to show her those moves I learned." Jonathan chuckled, feeling lighter. But as their laughter faded, he felt a new weight settle in his stomach. This was a big commitment. Would this event be enough? Would the kids respond? All right, Jonathan said, determination etched in his face. Let us do this. I'll reach out to the center today, and we can start planning. Awesome! Danny exclaimed, his enthusiasm contagious. But just as Jonathan felt the rush of excitement, a thought crept in: would his passion translate into change? Would they truly reach the kids who felt lost? As they walked out together, the sun brightening their path, Jonathan couldn't shake the feeling that this step was only the beginning. In the split second before he closed the door behind him, another knock resonated, louder and more demanding than before. This time, it sent a shiver down his spine. Who else could it be? And did it have anything to do with the event? As he opened the door again, he braced himself for whatever awaited him. Before Jonathan could fully comprehend what he was facing, the door swung open to reveal a tall man he didn't recognize. His face was weathered, marked by lines of experience and perhaps fatigue. He stepped forward, filling the doorway with a sense of urgency. "Excuse me," he said, his voice low but firm. "I'm looking for Mr. Jonathan Hayes." That's me," Jonathan replied, both confused and intrigued. The man nodded. "Name as Frank. I'm the new director at the community center." He glanced behind Jonathan, as if searching for someone else. "Mind if we talk?" "Sure, come on in." Jonathan held the door wider, puzzled about the unexpected visitor. As Frank crossed the threshold, there was an intensity about him that made Jonathan's heart race. "I've been hearing a lot about the things you're planning," he continued, not wasting any time. "Danny filled me in. Yeah, we're thinking of revitalizing the place. An event to bring back the community spirit." Jonathan felt the weight of his own words, realizing how deeply he cared. Frank ran a hand through his hair, revealing a troubled expression. "That's great. But we've got some serious issues on our hands." He took a seat at the kitchen table, and Jonathan joined him, his curiosity piqued. "What kind of issues?" Frank leaned forward, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Funding, for one. The center has been struggling for a while. If something doesn't change soon, we might end up shutting our doors." A chill ran down Jonathan's spine. "No, it can't come to that." Frank exhaled heavily. "Believe me, the community needs this place. It's not just a center, it's a haven for kids like Danny and others. But we can't wait for change. We need action, and we need it fast." Jonathan's mind raced. "What do you mean? What can I do? With the event you're planning, we might just have a shot at turning things around." Frank locked eyes with Jonathan, sincerity etched on his face. "But we need to rally the community. Get everyone involved. It won't be easy." "We can do it," Jonathan replied, determination surging within him. "Danny and I were just brainstorming. If we make this a big deal, involve local businesses, families, we could attract attention." Frank nodded, but there was an edge of concern in his eyes. "It's gonna take a lot more than just the two of you. We need volunteers, sponsors, and we need to spread the word. This is bigger than just an event, it's a fight for the center itself." Just when Jonathan was about to respond, his phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at the screen, surprised to see Laura's name flashing. He picked it up. "Hey honey, what's up?" "Jonathan. You won't believe this." Laura's voice crackled, and Jonathan's heart jumped. "I just got a call from a couple of people in the neighborhood. They want to discuss getting involved with the center." "Seriously?" A surge of hope filled him. "That's incredible." "Yes. They're interested in donating supplies and even sponsoring activities for the event. I think this could start to build some real momentum." Frank watched Jonathan, a spark of unity forming between them as they began to see the gears turning. "Okay, let us meet later to plan everything out," Jonathan said, excited. This could really lead to something. After hanging up, a mix of emotions swirled within Jonathan. Hope, excitement, fear, and determination battled for his attention. But as he glanced back at Frank, the weight of responsibility began to settle heavily on his shoulders again. Jonathan, Frank said, leaning back, there's one more thing we need to discuss. There's an old rule about community events that may surprise you, and it might just change everything you thought you knew about this center. Jonathan's heart thudded. What could that possibly mean? What do you mean? He asked, tension coiling in his stomach. Frank took a deep breath, pausing a moment before speaking. It's a tradition that always made the events a success, but over the years it's been lost. It's time to bring it back, and it's going to take some courage to do it. Jonathan felt a chill come over him. What tradition was Frank referring to? Did it hold the answer to the struggle they faced? As Jonathan leaned forward, eager to understand, he sensed the weight of something significant on the horizon, a game changer ready to unfold. Would he be ready to embrace it? In that moment, everything felt poised on the edge of change. Frank, what tradition are you talking about? Jonathan pressed, leaning in slightly. The air around them pulsed with unanswered questions. Frank sighed, the lines on his face deepening. Years ago, the center held what we called a community night. It wasn't just about the event itself. It was about creating a bond, a family feel among everyone who participated. There were games, stories shared, and even talent shows. Each part of the night was a piece of the community's heart. Jonathan felt a soft warmth at the memory, but his expression remained puzzled. So, what happened to it? Things changed. New directors, a shift in priorities. It became about efficiency rather than connection. Slowly, people stopped believing in the magic that those nights held. But if we can reignite that tradition, a flicker of hope ignited in Jonathan's chest. But how? We're pressed for time, Frank. We need to pull this off fast. I know, Frank replied, his eyes serious. But it has to be grassroots. We need the community to feel a part of it again. We should reach out to those who used to be involved. Let them share their stories. Only then can we rally behind a cause that means so much to so many. Jonathan mulled over the idea, memories washing over him. He could picture the families, the laughter, even the smell of popcorn wafting through the old center. Those moments had chipped away the loneliness that often clouded his youth. We can do this, he said, voice firm. Where do we even start? Frank smiled slightly, the tension easing. Tonight's first step will be to arrange a community meeting at the center. We can make announcements and invite everyone. The more we can get people talking about what it used to mean and what it could mean again, the better. All right. You handle the logistics, and I'll spread the word, Jonathan said, a steady rhythm building in his heart. Suddenly, Jonathan remembered his father's old friends, the ones who used to help organize events. Wait. I know a few people who might want to join in. They can spread excitement. Before Jonathan could finish, his phone buzzed again. He glanced down. It's Laura. Put it on speaker, Frank encouraged eagerly. Jonathan, I have great news. Laura's voice echoed, bright and filled with energy. I spoke with a few neighbors about the community meeting, and they're all in. They have ideas for games and activities, even a potluck. Jonathan's heart soared. That's amazing. We're gathering momentum. Yes, but Laura hesitated, the excitement from earlier fading. There's a slight issue. Some of the older people are skeptical about reviving things. They think it might be too labor-intensive or the interest might not be there anymore. Frank's expression tightened. We need to show them it matters, that it's worth the work. It's about more than the event, it's about rebuilding trust and community. If they can see how connected they still are to the center, he trailed off, the weight of the challenge clear on all their shoulders. Jonathan glanced at Frank, recognizing the uphill battle ahead. Their mission felt larger than just an event. It became a fight against years of neglect and fading memories. Let us do this together, Jonathan said slowly, his voice steady. We'll meet with the residents, share stories, and remind them of the heart of the center. Frank nodded, appreciation flooding his gaze. But we need more than just the old memories. We need new energy too. Local businesses, families with kids, if everyone pitches in, we can turn the tide. The strategy was beginning to crystallize in Jonathan's mind. We need to give people something to believe in again. This can be the moment we've all been waiting for. Frank glanced at his watch. Time's against us. We need to act fast. Agreed, Jonathan said, feeling his pulse quickening. Let us get this rolling. With their mission defined, they sprang into action, each energized by the prospect of renewal. As they dove deeper into plans, each phone call, each door knock felt like a step closer to something monumental. But even amidst their growing excitement, the weight of doubt lingered in the air. What if it wasn't enough? That lingering question settled in Jonathan's mind as they began their campaign. He couldn't shake the feeling that they had only scratched the surface of what the community intended to share. Would they accept the challenge, or would they close the door on their history? He took a deep breath, willing himself to stay focused. Little did he know, the challenges they faced were just beginning. And somewhere hidden in those doubts, a truth awaited discovery, a truth that could redefine the heart of their community forever. Would they uncover it before it was too late? The days rolled into a blur of activity as Jonathan and Frank rallied the community. They spent hours on the phone, chatting up neighbors, sharing the spark of an old dream, the idea of restoring community night. They wrote flyers, dashed between houses, and even found time to sip coffee with small business owners, urging them to participate. Word was creeping through the neighborhood like wildfire. On a rainy Saturday morning, they gathered at the center to discuss their first community meeting. The large hall was dusty but felt alive with possibility. Jonathan brushed his hand over the faded wooden stage where so many memories lingered. The laughter, the singing, all of it echoed in his mind. Okay, we need to brainstorm how to present our ideas, Frank stated, his brow furrowing. We have to be careful. If we present it wrong, we might lose their interest before we even start. Jonathan nodded, feeling the pressure. He glanced at the small group gathering: Laura, a few parents, and the local bakery owner, who had brought a batch of cookies as a token of support. It warmed his heart to see faces that still believed in the community's spirit. We should start with a story. Let them share their memories, Jonathan suggested, the enthusiasm dripping from his tone. If we can show what they've missed, maybe it'll spark something in them. Laura chimed in, her voice brightening the room. We could encourage everyone to bring an old photo or something that reminds them of community night. That way, they'll speak from the heart. Frank grinned. Perfect. Combine thoughts with tangible memories that could be powerful. As ideas began to flood the table, Jonathan felt that old fire sparking again. They were building something great. But as the plans solidified, Jonathan couldn't dismiss that nagging voice in the back of his mind. It whispered worries about the older generation. He took a deep breath, focusing on the moment. Let us write down all of our contacts. Remind them that everyone matters here. We need everyone's voice. The group nodded in agreement, jotting down names and numbers. That night, he spent hours crafting a heartfelt email to the entire community, encouraging them to join and share their voices. But just as he was about to hit send, a sudden realization struck him. He had forgotten about Mrs. Eldridge, the sweet old lady who used to host the knitting circles. She was one of the community's anchor stones, always the first to help. What would she think? Did she still care? In that moment, he made a decision to visit her the next day. The sun rose bright and cheerful the following morning as Jonathan made his way to her small, flower-filled cottage. He knocked lightly, the sound barely cutting through the buzzing of bees. After a moment, the door creaked open, revealing a wrinkled face with a bright smile. Jonathan! It's been ages! Mrs. Eldridge exclaimed, pulling him into a welcoming embrace. The scent of freshly baked cookies wafted from her kitchen. He stepped inside, catching sight of her disarrayed knitting basket, a small planet of yarns and colors that danced through the air. The warmth enveloped him. Mrs. Eldridge, I wanted to talk about community night. We're bringing it back, and I really wanted your input and support. Her brow creased slightly as she listened, and Jonathan could see doubts forming. Oh dear. I'm not sure, Jonathan. It sounds lovely, but I just don't know if that magic is still there. He felt a pang of sadness wash over him. But it can be. We need your voice, your stories. You're part of this community. We all are. Mrs. Eldridge paused, as if wrestling with the memories. Maybe before she could finish, the door swung open since Laura had decided to come with him. Mrs. Eldridge. We were just talking about you. The excitement radiated between them, but Jonathan could still sense the hesitation in her eyes. Would they convince her to join in? Did she even want to believe in the past again? As they chatted, Jonathan realized they were not just fighting for an event. They were fighting for each other, hoping to stitch together past and present. Yet the bigger question loomed above them, casting shadows. How could they truly unite while facing skepticism and buried doubts? With every word shared, Jonathan was growing more convinced that success lay in real conversations. Would they be able to rekindle that magic once and for all? Or would some voices remain silenced, lost in the memories of what was, and never made anew? The laughter from Laura filled the room, a stark contrast to the solemnity of Mrs. Eldridge's doubt. Jonathan felt the warmth evaporate for a moment, replaced by an uneasy silence as the older woman stared into the distance, lost somewhere in her past. Mrs. Eldridge? Jonathan said gently, trying to draw her back into the present. We want to create something special. Something that reflects what we all have together. You'd be a part of that. Looking deep into Jonathan's eyes, Mrs. Eldridge finally spoke. Oh, Jonathan, I want to believe you. I do. But so many good things have faded. The neighborhood has changed, and so have we. Tension hung in the air, heavy like the gray clouds that occasionally shifted overhead outside. Jonathan could see it on her face, that familiar longing for what once was, battling with the harsh realities of now. He reached out, took her weathered hand, and gave it a reassuring squeeze. Change is hard, I know. But it can also be a new beginning. You helped build this community, and I believe deep down you still carry that spark. Let's bring it back together. After what felt like an eternity, a small spark flickered in her eyes. You really think so? Yes, he replied, his voice firm with conviction. We can showcase the past, celebrate the present, and reignite the future. An unexpected smile broke through her hesitations. Maybe you're right. Maybe we can weave the threads of our past into something beautiful again. Children, families, they all need to feel that sense of unity. The conversation flowed smoothly now, bolstered by hope. Mrs. Eldridge shared stories of the vibrant nights of past, laughter echoing through every corner of that dusty hall where they hoped to gather once again. With Laura's encouragement, she even began to reminisce about the delicious treats she'd bake, promising to whip up her famous apple pie for the event. As they wrapped up their meeting, Jonathan felt invigorated. Together, they plotted how to use the stories shared that day to reach others. They would not only host photographs but aim to create a quilt of memories. Each patch a reminder of connection, a thread tying the community together. When Jonathan returned home that evening, he sat down and drafted a new email to the community. This one felt different, a rallying cry written from the heart, full of emotion and invitation. He poured every ounce of that day's conversation into words, hoping to light a fire under both the young and old. Later that night, he hit send, adrenaline coursing through him. But deep down, he worried. What if some wouldn't feel the spark? Mrs. Eldridge had been willing, but might others be resistant? The next day, as Jonathan walked into the community center for the first official meeting, his heart raced. Faces filled the room, some familiar while others were new. He watched as Mrs. Eldridge entered with Laura, her special apple pie in hand, a metaphorical gift bridging their past and future. As people began to mingle, some faces looked hesitant. Sensing the unease, Jonathan took a deep breath. He realized now that this moment felt much bigger than just an event. This was their chance to unleash a powerful collective voice. Can we talk about our memories? Jonathan proposed, as silence fell over the room. Each of you has a story that matters, a piece of this quilt we're sewing together. Suddenly, Mrs. Eldridge stood up, pie in one hand and confidence in the other. It's time to share our stories. Let us remember the joy, the laughter, and the nights where we danced under the stars. A ripple of murmurs filled the room as people gave her hesitant glances and then began to nod. Jonathan felt a surge of hope. Could this truly be the turning point he dreamed of? As stories began to flow, some shared laughter while others shed tears. While it seemed they were moving closer, Jonathan couldn't shake the feeling that beneath the surface, not everyone was convinced. And then, from the back of the room, he heard a voice calling out, "What if all of this just doesn't work? What if it's too late?" The room quieted, as all eyes turned towards the voice of skepticism. Jonathan's heart sank. Would they crumble under second-guessing, or could they rally and overcome this reality? What should have been a moment of unity teetered on the brink of doubt. Would doubts drown their momentum, or could they transform hesitation into resilience? In that tense moment, Jonathan felt every pair of eyes locked onto him. The room was silent, a living tableau of anticipation and fear. The small voice of doubt echoed louder than anyone expected. What if it's too late? Taking a deep breath, Jonathan moved toward the voice, now rooted firmly in the back of the crowded room. "I hear you," he said, arms open wide. "I understand that fear. This community has been through so much. But that's why we're here tonight. To remember what we've lost, yes, but also to excite ourselves about what we can bring back." The speaker's face began to soften, those gathered visibly inhaling hope alongside Jonathan's fervent words. Change isn't easy. If it were, we wouldn't feel so apprehensive about this, would we? But each of us has a role to play. We're here together because we want to reach out to others, heal those bonds that have frayed. Suddenly Mrs. Eldridge stepped forward again, brandishing the pie proudly. "And even if we're scared, we can still come together over something sweet. Is anyone up for a slice?" Laughter erupted, the ice finally breaking, uniting everyone in joy. That small levity transformed the atmosphere. Families started sharing stories, allowing laughter to mingle with tears. Each memory was a brick in a wall. They were rebuilding the laughter from birthday parties, the tears from seasons lost, the hopes for fresh beginnings. Feeling emboldened, Jonathan spoke again. "What if instead of thinking it's too late, we consider it's the very beginning? Each and every one of you has a voice, a piece of this puzzle. Let us fill this empty canvas together." With shared encouragement, hands began to rise, voices chiming in with memories and ideas. Skepticism began to wane as they settled into snippets of history, all to the backdrop of hopeful exchanges. The gathering transformed from a thin thread of doubt to a vibrant tapestry of dreams rekindled. In the days that followed, they began to lay the groundwork for the community night. Jonathan took the lead, enlisting every person who had once felt disconnected. The bakery owner jumped in with goods, local schools promised volunteers, and parents found creative ways to engage children. It was all hands on deck. As flyers filled with heartwarming imagery flew into mailboxes, the sense of nostalgia combined with fresh excitement became electric. The transformations were palpable. The day of the event finally arrived. Children rushed around the center, delight painting their cheeks as they prepared little booths for games. Adults adorned tables with memories, each image a reminder of years gone by. Banners read together again, inviting the community to revive the spirit that once flourished. As the sun sank low, casting golden hues over the center, Jonathan stood in the middle of a swelling crowd. Excited murmurs filled the air. He glanced at Laura, her radiant smile lighting up the space, a testament to their shared journey. He found Danny in the crowd, catching his eye and sharing a nod filled with understanding. This was more than just a moment. It was a reclamation of their stories. With a heart brimming with pride, Jonathan grabbed the microphone, his voice steady. "Thank you for coming. We've all faced struggles, but today is a celebration of coming home. Let us honor the past and embrace the future." As the crowd erupted in applause, a chant broke out, hands forward, voices unified. They were sharing not only laughter but also hope. In that moment, Jonathan looked around the familiar faces, the celebration of community, and the undeniable bond that stitched them all back together. They were not simply reviving traditions, they were building bridges over the chasms of doubt and fear. Together, they erupted into an atmosphere filled with connection and healing. Hugs replaced hesitations, friendships blossomed from lingering doubts, and each shared smile brightened the heavy air. Jonathan realized that in the tapestry of their lives, they were always meant to be woven together, stronger and brighter than ever before. And so, as the night unfolded around them filled with memories, laughter, and fresh promises, Jonathan understood that this was just the beginning of a new chapter, one woven by many hands, anchored by the love that brought them closer. This transformation wasn't merely about reviving the center, it was about restoring faith in each other. As songs of reunion echoed in the night, Jonathan felt secure in knowing they would never drift apart again. With one last glance at their unfolding story, he knew it was now their time to shine. Now, friends, this is your call to action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm because every bit helps. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful transformation. You need to show your support, and this is the moment. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Thank you.